here we go. Unreal game as the first game of the day. Happy to see the players on stage as well. Misfits is definitely getting their practice in that regard. So let's take a look at the priorities they go for. Immediately Rise off the table. No surprises there, Broxah.
Yeah, I think getting the Rise away from Vitality makes a lot of sense. Obviously, I'm sure Vetheo can play pretty much every mid laner. He even said it himself yesterday on the post-game lobby, but Perkz is known, looking back historically, for playing control mages, being really good on the Rise, the Victor, the Seer, like all these control mages. Whereas Vetheo, sure, he can play that as well, but he really shines when setting up a scenario where he can play something like the Zoe, the Akali, just spice it up a little bit, really.
But speaking of things which are spicing up, actually the opposite of that is something like a Graves to the Hull Breaker in their top side, already removed from Team Vitality. Something that we said in the pre-match for Vitality's game yesterday was, actually, if you give them a less volatile lane in the top side, maybe that's not what Alphari really wants to go towards. He wants to be able to outmuscle his opponent, which is exactly what he did versus poor Genex yesterday on that Aatrox pick with his Gangplank. So again, opening things up in the top side, which is what I'm looking for the side of Vitality if they have a strong draft here.
I find the Hecarim and Diana bans pretty interesting because, to me, these are the two junglers that have the easiest time setting up fights, getting those hard engages off, and by banning both of them, Misfits are basically saying that Selfmade is so key, so important for Vitality to get fights started, to get those engages off. They want to deny him that opportunity now. Obviously, there's still a lot of junglers available, but those two with the hard engage are now gone. I guess Jarvan being the one exception.
And even then, when actually looking across the rest of the league, we've had some junglers which have done very well, even on Zhao, to be kind of like partial engage. It's not like your Hecarim, like you were saying. What this does mean for me is that you look at Vitality now, if they don't have those big engages, maybe it means that Labrov has to go back towards something like a Leona, back towards something like a Nautilus, and they're kind of forcing that support role into a certain pigeonhole, which allows Misfits to play around in information.
And we don't have any surprises when it comes to what there's going to go in the bot lane. We don't even want to talk about it, but hey, you got to secure it early.
Yeah, I think picking these two AD carriers makes a lot of sense. Obviously, Jinx, Aphelios, you're seeing them being picked up banned basically every game. Now the Syndra with Hecarim and Diana down. Syndra, without a doubt, is the strongest jungler because now the two other priority junglers left are Lee and Jarvan, but Syndra is really favorable into both of them. So pretty much regardless of what Misfits picks at this point, unless Shlatan has something really interesting, new, different, prepared, Vitality is going to have a great jungle matchup.
There's always the chance of, I mean, I'm always going to be waving my Trundle flag into the Zhao. I think that's always a pick that you can go towards. Oof. But, you know, flag's on the ground, it's been stomped on, Lee Sin's picked.
I am so happy to see Lee Sin logged in here for different reasons. Now, this is a matchup that was played a lot all the time in Worlds 2018. And the way this matchup goes is that if you just play the game just normally, nothing special happens, Syndra is naturally going to come out of top, but Lee Sin always has the X factor, the outplay potential, and Selfmade by default is going to be able to win the river skirmishes, but if Shlatan pulls out some big plays, then surely he can come out on top.
Oh, he's throwing down the gauntlet. I love it.
But what I really love, if this Tahm Kench is locked in as well, this will kind of follow down the same path. But you look at, you know, big engages being removed. Suddenly you have a Thresh Flay, you've got the box, you've got the kick, you've got also, I mean, a number of disengage tools on the other side for Vitality. Both teams lacking engage options and having some of the best disengage options in the game on both sides.
In a lot of ways, Vitality are picking a comp pretty similar to the one yesterday where they had so much disengage with the Gangplank, the Tahm Kench, the Cillian, and right now if I was Misfits, one of the picks I would be looking to take away from Vitality would be something like the Cillian, because actually Perkz, going back to the Cillian pick, has had a lot of success on Cillian in the past. I believe right now he's 9 wins and 1 loss on Cillian throughout his career. Obviously, maybe being in North America, learning from the
man himself.
Jensen and Bjergsen. Now he's brought back some of the technology. We'll see what they ban, of course, but it's something I would be slightly afraid of if I was Misfits.
Yeah, we'll see for sure. To me, it now kind of seems to spell out that Misfits, it's not an easy plan they're crafting for themselves, right? A lot of skill shots have to land in order to make it happen or to disengage necessarily. But we trust in their abilities. But
the thing for me now is I look at one team having the Jinx, which is so much easier to play around in that regard, because neither team is going to have huge backline access. You're going to have the Jinx versus the Aphelios, and we know that Carzzy, you know, coming off of those 2 back-to-back titles himself, is a very professional player of both of these champions. I think the Aphelios is going to be harder to pilot in this when both of the AD carries are going to be less impacted by the big divers. I feel like this favors Misfits if no big dive answer is blocked in by Vitality, or something to displace the Jinx on the backline.
No Akali for you, Vetheo. We watched your game.
I think the one thing that's important to look out for with a draft like this, with the Thresh, with the Lee Sin, is all the playmaking, because if the Lee and Thresh are on point, if they land their skill shots, if they're able to find their openings, it's going to be a great game for Misfits. But Vitality at the same time, if they can slow them down, if they can avoid from, you know, giving them any opportunities, then by default, they just got a stable, well-rounded draft.
So this Gnar is very important because Gnar with the Hullbreaker is a very safe blind pick. It allows you to have a pseudo-engage option, but also hold up the side lane. Now, if you're trying to, again, engage onto Vitality with the Tahm Kench, guiding their, kind of saving their 4v4, the Gnar's going to have a lot more room to control the map because he knows actually the Aphelios is unlikely to die on the other side. I'm interested in seeing what Misfits have to kind of unseat that Gnar from a side lane to stop them just kind of coasting into a late game win condition.
Syndra.
Now the Syndra blind pick, that's a very interesting one. So if we look at Vitality's team comp at the moment, they don't have any AP damage yet. Perkz, one way or another, is going to have to bring the AP damage. Now, Cillian is not a bad matchup into Syndra by any means. It's actually pretty decent. He counters basically everything Syndra does. She's a burst champ, she has one combo, Cillian ults. All of a sudden, no one is dead anymore, and Syndra doesn't bring quite as much. But at the same time, I'm unsure if Vitality are willing to go for it now that they need the AP damage so heavily. With Cillian, sure, he does some damage, but it's not like real hyper carry in that sense.
We've got another Aatrox. Let's go. At least it's better than yesterday.
It's better positioned than yesterday. It's still not an easy Aatrox game. You can do fine versus the Gnar, obviously with the Q buffs. A lot of your skill matchups become obviously more favored towards you. If there is a lead on the Aatrox, I think that Misfits are very happy with what they're doing because they're playing with a stronger front line and then have the outrange on the Jinx as well. However, trying to get that lead when a TF is constantly in your lane, that changes things.
Yeah, we talked about it with Humanoid yesterday. He said, yes, nerf, but it really isn't that important. He still does everything you want him to do.
I really love this Twisted Fate pick here, actually, because, as mentioned earlier, with Misfits comp, there's a lot of playmaking, there's a lot of early game potential. With Twisted Fate in the mid lane, it's much harder to go for those plays because you always have to be mindful of Perkz being able to move, being able to be there before the Syndra can actually follow up. Now, I think if I am on Misfits side here, my main goal in this game is to look mid. With Syndra, with Lee, you have a lot of gank potential mid. It can be really hard for Twisted Fate to play into that. Look to set up an early gank in the mid lane, shut down Perkz, have Vetheo do what he does best, control through him, and then the game should be pretty straightforward from there. Now, if Perkz gets unlocked, on the other hand, it's not going to be very fun to be in Misfits.
Yeah, but one thing which Misfits do have is damage. They do have damage, whereas on the other side, you're basically looking at Aphelios and maybe some Mega Gnar plays. If you lose that Aphelios or they get shut down and bot side on the other side, though, 5v5s look pretty dangerous side of Vitality. I don't know if they've got the staying power to last it out.
No doubt about it. We're going to need some very beautiful positioning from Carzzy in this one. Obviously, he has the Tahm Kench next to him to help out a little bit, but at the same time, when it comes to team fights, Carzzy is going to have to show up, but it's going to be difficult.
Oh, let's hope we get some fantastic team fights in this game. The first one of the day, Misfits versus Vitality.
Hello, 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 ladies, gentlemen, and everybody else. Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Welcome to the LEC Week 7, Day 2. My name is Quickshot. I'm joined by Trouble once again.
Hello,
with
hello.
Troubleshot duo.
Troubleshot.
That was our name,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
You
I did forget. No, I just like playing with it because I like to pretend I forget these things.
Right, I'll pretend I believed this one.
I like that, Trouble. Thank you so much. Of course, as we do jump into the Rift, some quick thoughts from the draft. I do like some of the attention paid to yesterday's games. That Zeri band from Vitality towards Neon had a fantastic game, as well as the Akali in Phase 2. And as that first phase of picks were being played up by Vitality, they're starting to group up. The team composition is a little bit reminiscent. They had a lot of reactive picks that worked well for them. And today, with the bans and with the changes, you can already see that Twisted Fate coming in, that Gnar coming in. Vitality will have to be a little bit more proactive how they use those tools.
I think both of the teams kind of learned of what went wrong for each other's games, and they either banned it away or they had an answer for it. Now, what I really love about the Misfits composition is that Shlatan is on his Lee Sin. He was fed back in the ERLs, having that champion in his hands, and paired up together with Vetheo Syndra. They're a very deadly 2 versus 2 duo.
Can I put a number to that for you, Trouble? I mean, Shlatan, Lee Sin is his most played professional champion ever. 52 games with a 63% win ratio. Do you want to know what the next most played? It's Graves with 27. Nearly half the number played.
You shouldn't be saying that name to me, Trevor. You know that Graves in the jungle is a banned word when you're around me.
It is indeed. Well, let's take a look whether or not Shlatan and Vetheo can make that combination work. Obviously, they do have the outplay potential. And for the time being, it was Vitality that made a little bit of a push into Misfits jungle, placed that ward down in the red buff. Perkz takes a level 2 trade and saw that bottom lane, Carzzy and Labrov slowly pushing forward. So we'll keep our eyes on the junglers and where they start to move. Brox was talking a lot about the advantages Selfmade will have in the river. Obviously just in that Zinta versus Lee Sin matchup.
Obviously, when you've got a Jinx down the bottom of the map, 9 out of 10, the Jinx will get the first push as well. And this is also the lane that Shlatan is going to end up playing around, at least on his first clear. So Mersa and Neon can feel extremely safe playing and pushing their waves and slow pushing and crushing that wave underneath opponent tower, because they do know that Shlatan is around if a wild Selfmade chooses to go bot side.
Yeah, I mean, the observers just highlighted the vision there. As soon as Shlatan jumped into the red buff, Vitality, we looked at the vision, we saw the pings coming down. The thing we haven't looked at just yet is that top Alphari with the mini Gnar, obviously going to push very early on. That's starting to crash towards the tower. Mersa with a very early roam here as that 2.5 waves is pushed into tower. It looks like Shlatan's making his way up. Misfits going to take a shot at this tower dive. This is a 3 versus 2. Death Sentence connects onto Perkz. He flashes away. The gold card is primed and Vetheo picks up first blood. That was exquisite.
That was very well done. Remember all the safety that we talked about for the bot side of the map? That is the domino effect. You shove in the bot lane wave, your Jinx feels safe because the jungler is around, and then you put that pressure towards the mid side of the map, punish Perkz, take his flash, take his TP. The only thing he has to move around the map now is the level 6 for his ultimate, and again, Mersa landing a beautiful hook. I think Perkz sort of knew what was happening the second, especially he sees Shlatan, but the second he sees Shlatan, also his neck is being pulled by a gigantic hook, so there's not much he can do there.
No, there really isn't. And, you know, when the Twisted Fate was locked in, I scratched my head a little bit because the last time that Perkz played Twisted Fate was in week 1 against Fnatic. Didn't go particularly well.
It also wasn't nerfed back then.
Also, that too. But also, when I do think about Perkz, historically, Twisted Fate's not one of the champions that I do sort of associate with him. So we need to see how not only is he going to pilot today, but also what a great heads-up play from Misfits, anticipating sort of where Shlatan could go, maybe even being aware of the warding, and that allowed them to push that bottom lane and go mid.
So here's the thing, I think Vitality are playing a lot under the pressure of their globals. Yesterday, they had Alphari onto that gangplank, they were using the cannon barrage to sort of be a nuisance on the side lane, either clear a wave or stop somebody from engaging or disengaging tool. They had something that they could globally interact with the map. This time it is going to be Perkz after level 6 on that Twisted Fate, trying to possibly shut down a side lane. Now, the fact that you have Thresh down the bottom of the map doesn't help too much, especially because Neon is running the cleanse as well. So I'm thinking that the target will be HiRit on the top side of the map. Saying that, HiRit has been the recipient of a lot of violence on the top side of the map, whether a jungler is included or not. And a lot of Misfits good games come from HiRit holding on his own towards the top side of the map. And this is going to be a big telltale on how at least the mid game is going to go for Misfits.
Well, right now, HiRit has been able to push this way back with a couple levels under his belt. He's gone a little bit more aggressive onto Alphari, using the double dash, trying to set up those chains. Alphari's done a good job in mini Gnar to avoid them and dodge them, but no significant leads just yet outside of that first kill. And I do appreciate that for Misfits, at least for the first 5 minutes here. Clear game plan.
Okay.
They haven't died. They haven't entered. And for a team that has historically had weak to bad early games, this is a promising start today.
I mean, you've got the push down the bot side of the map because you have the Jinx and the Thresh, so you can very easily and safely push. You've got the push in the mid lane with Vetheo, who does have his flash available if a wild Selfmade chooses to show onto the map, and he also has the hard shove. Now, because the AoE was nerfed on the Twisted Fate doesn't get to push as fast as before. This is why you see a lot of these mages push further into the Twisted Fate, and right now Vetheo has the luxury, because he also has his summoners, to slow push and crash to waves, which means it's gonna take Perkz much longer to push that out, which means Shlatan gets a free ticket on the map.
Well, nicely done. I mean, free ticket on the map after a great play to pick up the first blood, the first dragon as well. And, you know, I mentioned the early games for Misfits. Their average goal difference at 15 minutes is -700. This is for a team that has 10 wins and 4 losses. Yesterday, they came back from a -13,000 gold deficit.
0.5. I'll make it even worse.
I mean, it was shocking, that comeback. Admittedly, G2 allowed them back into the game. Misfits have consistently shown they can play from behind. I want to see now, can they maintain this kind of hold? The pacing is still even. It's still very, very close in the early game. But they haven't made any big mistakes just yet.
So what I'm looking at right now is Perkz swap to Ignite, because obviously he has the spell book, and he might be looking for a play on the map. Now the problem is that every time you will leave your lane, Vetheo is going to shove in another wave underneath the tower. You're going to miss an experience and gold, and more importantly, you're going to lose a lot of turret platings, which means that Syndra in those mid-game, early to mid-game fights, paired up with the Lee Sin, is going to be a deadly duo.
That's already a plate secured, plus 20 CS in the middle lane. It is balanced out by plus 20 for Alphari. In the top lane is Labrov, which is trying to pick up a couple of those minions and some XP. 600 gold difference
It's not
in the
that
middle
balanced.
lane. No, and as it stands right now, the Vitality duo making their way down, and Selfmade still farming up a Storm. He's got access to level 6. Keep waiting to see when the next sort of engage is going to happen. Neon will just get knocked up and not in range of the Flame Chompers for Labrov to get caught out. So here comes Mersa. And Labrov just using the numbers advantage to push Neon as far back as he can.
It's just extremely scary every time you don't see Thresh on the map. I feel like Carzzy and Labrov feel inclined to make a play onto Neon. You have to make a play onto Neon because you don't see the Thresh. The Thresh could be mid lane again, trying to take advantage that Perkz doesn't have his flash still. So I'm seeing the try here by Carzzy and Labrov to try and get something on the map. Hasn't worked yet. I'm looking at the level 6 to level 7. Perkz is level 7 right now. I'm looking to see, you have the chance to shove this wave. There's no teleport onto Vetheo. This is your chance to hard shove this one and try to look for a side lane.
Back in the day, many, many moons ago, many years, talked about the likes of Shen and Twisted Fate, and if they used their ultimate that first time and it didn't work out, it would spell doom for the entire game. Now, it's not quite as dramatic these days.
I was about to say, it's not that dramatic.
No, it's not. But I do think that with that Destiny being thrown down, that is now obviously a fizzle, but I think it was maybe to dissuade any potential ganks there.
That was Perkz choosing to make his play on the bot side of the map because Mersa doesn't have his flash available.
Dun, 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 dun.
Wasn't the right play, and he might get punished right
Unleashed
here.
power, flashes away from the Sonic Wave. Perkz survives with his life and manages to take Shlatan's flash with him. But the play didn't work. The counter ends up costing him his flash, and he's already been ganked once.
Again, I'm thinking here, because you said it yourself, right? Top lane is sort of balancing out the map right now. Alphari is yet again winning his lane. We have seen this before. He's stellar at his laning phase. He's stellar at getting advantages. I would like to see Perkz possibly play towards the top side of the map when Alphari is just about to turn Mega Gnar.
Well, Catfish is caught by the deep.
Neon is there too.
Grey health is used. Neon stepping forward, level 6 available to him. Fires the rocket. This one is sidestepped relatively easily, in fact. And Neon will be a little disappointed with that, but because of the pressure in the middle lane, Shlatan gets another uncontested objective as he secures the Rift Heralds.
He has to do absolutely nothing. I think this is the absolute fairy tale for a jungler. The fact that 2 out of 3 of your lanes are winning, and you can play towards these 2 lanes. The Syndra is perma-pushing, you've got access to the river. Your bot lane is perma-pushing, then you've got access to the Thresh roaming constantly the map and being a threat together with the Lee Sin.
Let's talk a little bit about the fact that Vitality's team composition is relatively low on damage. The analyst desk was highlighting that fact. So the way they beat SK yesterday was by playing the map, really pushing inside waves, forcing SK to come to them, forcing SK to engage. They can do that again with Gnar and Twisted Fate, but they can't fall too far behind because then the damage and the playmaking power of Misfits could become very problematic.
And also the atomization here is very easy. Because Aatrox was obviously nerfed, a lot of champions that build Gold Drinker into Aatrox might do Gold Drinker into Randuin's, Gold Drinker into Frozen Heart. You'll see something that has a big punch of armor, but also reduces a lot of the attack speed. You use that around the Aphelios, then the damage is going to be instantly mitigated. Your main hyper carry damage dealer is not going to do as much as you were expecting, and because the rest of the team is relatively low damage, you're going to lose on the damage meter check.
Oh, look at this, mid tower again under pressure. Rift Herald starting to charge up. 3 members of Vitality standing strong. Mercer's making his way to that bottom lane.
Did you notice that happened? He tried to use the Abyssal Voyage, and he gets interrupted because Shelly had butted him.
Yeah, interrupts it, so it doesn't work out. And Labrov is going to be a little sad. That's 3 plates secured here for Vetheo.
And another dragon.
Another dragon, although it does look like Labrov is stepping forward. That ward in the river, we've just given vision. I didn't quite see the walk. So this will be the 2nd dragon here for Misfits. They extend that gold lead to 1,000. And this is one of the sort of most well-coordinated plays we've seen. That's a teleport to the top lane for Alphari. Alphari and HiRit are just farming up themselves plus 20 CS for Alphari right now.
Now let's talk about what Vitality did yesterday really well, that they could also implement in this particular composition that they have right here. Alphari is on the Gnar. He has 2 components for the Hullbreaker, which means it's going to be his first item. I think Alphari has been that one person that has used and Vitality the Hullbreaker power to its maximum, specifically yesterday onto the Gangplank. What Vitality needs to do here is sort of wait until this is completed and allow the Gnar to put side lane pressure. Why I think this can work much easier than it did versus K is because Misfits do not have hard engage. They have no Hecarim's, they have no Rakans. All of their engage is conditional. It's a Q kick, it's a Scatter the Weak from Syndra, or it's a hook from Thresh, which can all be much easier dodged than any sort of form of hard engage. So I think Vitality are in a pretty good spot to play the game slow, allow the Gnar to be a nuisance on the side lane, and then just peel backwards from any sort of engage.
Well, let's see if Misfits can get out with their lives. Death sentence is dropped. Gold card does land. All of a sudden, the box is used defensively. Grey Health can't even get popped. Super Mega Death Rocket goes a little bit wide. Shlatan is alive for now. And Mersa will be the first to fall. It's a support for support in the river.
Okay, I was expecting Shlatan to completely die right there,
Yeah,
but as you can see, his Gold Drinker was up and available, which means that he was pretty tanky for that fight. And here it has to flash away from, obviously, the Mega Gnar right there, because it could spell a lot of trouble for him. That is a flash onto HiRit, no teleport onto HiRit. And Selfmade is going to be back in really soon and heading towards the top side of the map, where Alphari has been pushing wave under wave under wave. Now, in that particular play, we also saw the power of the Twisted Fate and Perkz. He gets to roam around, he gets to make the plays. And yes, this didn't particularly work in Vitality's favor, but again, you get to slow down the game. You make a play, you show your opponents that you are first on pulling the trigger.
And crucially, Vitality, very successful proactive play. They didn't dissuade the dragon, of course, but they got themselves the kill. They pushed Vision into the jungle. All that pressure bottom is allowing Alphari to push to get rid of HiRit's flash, to almost set up that solo kill. And look, this last 2 minutes of play all comes from that aggression from Vitality into Misfits. And whereas even as we can be at the 14-minute mark, no towers fallen yet, but now it'll come down to execution, like you're talking about. Can Alphari and Perkz play the side lanes or set up the ganks? Can Vitality, Misfits land the skill shots?
And I love how you sort of transition that to execution, because I feel Vitality won the game yesterday due to their execution, due to the spectacular macro and using that side lane. And now they don't just have one, they have 2 side lane threats. They can use the Twisted Fate and they can use the Gnar with the Hullbreaker. Now, why I feel like Twisted Fate might not be seen on a side lane as much as before is because she's not as strong into shoving in these waves. And I think Vetheo Syndra is very strong to the point where you can actually 1v1 the Twisted Fate on the side lane and then TP back in. Selfmade is sort of sensing some sort of danger in his jungle because he saw that Vetheo shoved in the wave and then moved towards the top side of the river. Really nice respect right there from Selfmade.
Yeah, really, really well played. And in particular, Selfmade is a player that hasn't always demonstrated that level of restraint. I think even yesterday, we saw some of those moments, so I really, really do like that call-out, Trouble. Because for Vitality, standing 7-7 in the standings, with Misfits being so, looking so strong, especially in this early game, they are playing the level of respect. And look, Vitality, 4-man set up in the middle lane, no TP for Alphari. There is support for Vetheo, but it looks like the lanes have swapped. HiRit's gone down bottom, Neon's gone top.
I think the most important thing right there was for Vitality to shove into the bot side of the map so they can actually get some vision down. But look what's happening. Alphari's all alone and they're heading top.
Yeah, Destiny comes out. Perkz is kicked away. Shlatan's going to try ward hop over, waiting for the cooldown. The knockup from Labrov. There's the ward hop from Shlatan. Moonlight Vigil fired as well. Alphari will look for the chase onto Neon. 1, 2, 3 members of Misfits are in trouble. Neon forced to cleanse away, and he manages to escape the Gnar. Alphari's not done yet. Chuck a boulder into his back, and Alphari finds another. They get a tower as well, but at the cost of mid and potentially bots.
Yeah, at the cost of mid and particularly bot, Vetheo keeps farming the mid lane tower, which is very important. We've talked about this before, but Vitality are pulling the trigger on what they can do the best. And that is side lane pressure, using that Twisted Fate to get vision, see where everyone is, and then try to attack. That was a 5 versus 3 on the top side of the map. They run everyone down. Very importantly, they get Neon's flash and cleanse. If you look on your screen right now, well, after that, there's 10 seconds for the Dragon, but let's see this again. Misfits are trying to pull a play onto Alphari, but look at Alphari's back. He's just about to turn into Mega Gnar, so he would have survived anyway until his teammates are there. And of course, Perkz with the global ultimate, he's able to get there just in time. Vitality smell the play, and they instantly get onto Misfits 5 versus 3. And again, very importantly, Neon summoners all blown out, which means that now Vitality can choose if they want to walk into that river, but Misfits are first in the play.
They are. What I'm really happy to see from Misfits is really like maybe one of the more impressive early games. Maybe I might even go as far as say the most impressive early game of Spring against Vitality, a very strong opponent. They are, even in gold. They've got 3 dragons at 17 minutes. Let that sink in. Soul will be coming up at 21 minutes, and they can force Vitality into
Do you want me to make this worse?
Please do.
Due to the low damage on the side of Vitality, an Ocean Soul from Misfits could be huge. Vitality, 4 members in the jungle, they find HiRit.
They do, but HiRit's got 2 knockups. Who's found whom? Neon is firing rockets, but held back from Labrov. Flashes away from the Flame Chompers, and HiRit will get chased down. 2 members of Vitality going forward. HiRit stays alive so long, but he does finally go down, and I think Labrov and the rest of Vitality kept Misfits at bay.
Yeah, you cannot walk in there, especially when Alphari is Mega Knight and he's threatening you keeping that ultimate. You cannot walk into such a small place because this is going to happen to you.
So much damage onto Shlatan. He stays alive thanks to the Thresh shield as well. Another tower being pressured in the top lane. 2 secured for Vitality. I think Vetheo actually stole away the blue buff there, which will help him out as the game progresses. And Vitality now being very aggressive. They've pushed top. They've pushed mid. They've got the 2,000 gold lead. And that Rift Herald will even get an additional boop onto the inhib top.
Yeah, because remember what we said about Misfits. If they miss their skill shots, there is no way of engaging fights. And when Vitality sees that, they just go forward. I think what's very important here is how Labrov is zoning away Neon, Mersa, and Shlatan from the entire fight. And yes, HiRit can tank a bunch, because I don't think any member for Vitality has any anti-healing.
No, that ward as well. The ward just going down into the Lantern 2 made it so difficult to get out. Thank you, observers, for spotting it. But I think Misfits caught surprised, and the engage from Vitality split them up. So HiRit stayed alive a very, very long time, but there was not enough follow-up there for Misfits to back them up. But I think we're going to set up this Ocean Soul. I actually think is really good for Misfits, despite being a little behind.
It is insane, because again, Vitality are pretty low on damage output, on bursts of damage rather, and it's gonna take them a while to kill someone. What Misfits can do is just go in, try to poke with the Syndra, they get poked, they move a little bit further out, they regen from the soul, they walk back in. So I feel like Ocean Soul is going to be huge for their composition.
And of course, now Misfits have 2.5 minutes to not make mistakes. Destiny will be available momentarily for Perkz. If he can use that before the dragon spawns, Vitality can buy themselves a few more minutes of gameplay. So Alphari pushes the bottom lane. He secures his 3rd tower. 200 CS. Hull breaker completed. He's got a 40 CS advantage over his lane opponent. But look at the mid lane. Vetheo, 50 CS up. The recipient of many ganks. Much support. By the way, as a quick aside, Vetheo has already won 9 Player of the Game awards this season. That is the most for any player ever in a single season since we started. The previous record was held by Caps, who got 8 in 2020 summer.
There have been some excellent plays coming in from Vetheo. Here it's about to go Mega Gnar.
Against the wall. A lot of patience there from Selfmade. as he waits to engage. Blows here, it's Flash. I wonder, had he gone in earlier, would it have made a difference? But trying to use all of his kit before he runs for his life.
That flash is huge that it was burned for the side of Misfits, because HiRit has no easy way of reaching the backline of Vitality that is very well protected by a Tahm, Kench and a Zhao. And in 1 minute and 20 seconds, there's going to be a Dragon up. I'm not sure if you want to go and try and contest that, because I don't think HiRit will have an easy way until they find like a flank TP to facilitate him with on that one. Carzzy is a little bit too far out, but again.
Oh, Vetheo didn't step forward. Little bit more damage, would have got it.
Oh, that was miscommunication, because the Super Mega Death Rocket was coming. All Vetheo had to do was press R, and Carzzy would be completely dead, and then there would be only 1 minute to set up without your ADC.
I think Vetheo turned back the moment he saw Selfmade. I wasn't sure how many members of Vitality were coming in, but with a minute to go till Dragon,
Yep.
I do think...
You can't make mistakes.
No. What is the cooldown on that Super Mega Death Rocket? It looks like, give me a moment, 32 seconds, so that'll just about be up for this fight. Trouble, let's look at the wards here.
Look at the
Teleport
flank
coming
TP.
in.
They want to kill HiRit. They want to kill HiRit here.
This is what we said. 2 members of Misfits TPing in onto HiRit. Labrov, Alphari, Perkz, but multiple members of the buddies are nearby. There's a ward on top of the Lantern. HiRit is down, 20 seconds to go, and that is exactly what Vitality wanted. So look for their first Dragon of the game. Will Misfits be able to stop? Will they even challenge? I don't know.
I don't think you have to right now. You're still on soul point. I think you let Shlatan maybe try for a potential steal and then maybe give up his life. Yes, he has the flash to get in and out if he wants to, but I think at this point you don't necessarily fight them full versus 5 because you've lost your backline access, you lost your frontliner as well. Aatrox with a bunch of healing works.
Yeah.
I think you just allow Shlatan to maybe do his magic here.
Oh, Misfits are feeling it. They're feeling it, stepping forward and not going to be able to find it. Shlatan gets the kick and he's sacrificed. I'm on the fence about that, but as you were talking, I was like, Misfits have burger flipped so many Elders and Barons. I'm not at all surprised they went for that. And a flash gold card into Vetheo easily will secure the kill. No, not just yet. Finally, they take him down. They pick up Mersa as well. But that scatter the week was fantastic. The scatter the week from Vetheo allowed him to pick up at least one and commit a whole bunch of summoner spells. Got a little racy towards the end. Honestly, I thought that was going to be such an easy kill.
You've seen so much positivity here from Misfits. I see 3 people dead here, Trevor.
Listen,
Vitality pulled off a really cool play.
That was dumb. That was dumb. Like, why? If you go back and you watch Shlatan inting it into the pit, I get it. If you just lose one and everyone else gets out, but he didn't. And then, of course, a decent scat of the week. But yes, you were right. But Misfits should not have been in that position.
I mean, this is why we said you just sacrifice your Lee Sin, run out, you can try again in 4 minutes time when the Dragon comes back up. Yes, and I commend, honestly, Shlatan, it's worth. If you die here, but still the Dragon, it is absolutely worth it. Because Soul goes to you, but everyone obviously piles up. It starts to flash on the Lantern, but everyone obviously piles up. Maybe the Lantern could have had a better position as well, maybe in the brush behind you. But these are, of course, details. And here, yes, Vetheo manages to scatter the weak, his opponents, as you said, but at the end of the day, it is 3 members of Misfits dead, and Vitality, every time they've pulled the trigger for a play, it's come up positive for them. 3-0-2 for Alphari on the top side, 4-0-3 for Selfmade in the jungle. These guys are huge.
3,000 gold lead, 9 kills, 2-3. They pick up their first Dragon. Also, fans at home, could you let the Misfits coaching staff know, tell Mersa that Vitality are pretty good at preventing that Lantern. Every time it's gone down, there's been wards, there's been body blocks, and they haven't been able to get out.
Vitality have good players at League of Legends.
Exactly. All right, do we have
I'll tell you something else.
Tell me.
Perkz is feeling
for the
this
coaching
game.
staff. That's such PM. That's such PM from the production team. Thank you. Sorry, I interrupted you, Trouble.
I was about to say, Perkz is feeling it as well.
Yes.
He's purchased the Medjais.
Yeah, very, very well spotted.
He's not going down. Not today, Trevor.
Well, Shlatan looking for some
Saying that.
We'll be able to catch on to Perkz. Flash forward, kicked under the tower. Vetheo manages to take him down just after the book was collected.
Did I jinx that?
I think you did. That is the definition of a caster curse, Trouble. All right, we got a little moment. Just very, very quickly.
I'm sorry, Perkz.
If I can distract everyone with the current standings. Misfits Gaming 10-4. Just by the way, they're on a 6-game winning streak. They went 5-4 in the first half of the season and are currently undefeated in the second half. Vitality sitting at 7-7. Now, Misfits are already qualified for playoffs. Vitality are still looking to make it in. So that's why this game is very important. I think that's also why we see, I think, a pretty high-level game here. Both teams playing very respectfully, both teams playing to their team compositions incredibly well. And for Misfits, they've gone even in the early game. They've now started to fall a little bit behind as this mid-game is playing it. I think Vitality have landed more punches than they've received, is the way I would describe it.
Sure, but you also know you have an ever-scaling composition, right? Jinx, one of the highest scaling hyper carries, but I think Perkz is really mad they took Page out of his Magi's.
Yes, I mean, no doubt. And again, every time Perkz has thrown a Destiny for the last few minutes,
it's been a kill.
It has been a kill. It has it. And this is what the team composition wants to do. I mean, I didn't even play-by-play that because it was a pretty easy kill. And you're seeing the power of Tahm Kench. He negates Syndra. It's exactly what the analyst desk said. So Misfits need to be more coordinated, have more people around if they want to try and shut this down.
And I'm going to go back to my point where I think Misfits' composition is very easy to play compared to Vitality's composition, where Vitality is always looking for a pick before every single fight, before every single objective. They have to look for a pick with the Twisted Fate. They have to use that tool to take someone out of the picture and then make it into this advantageous fight for Misfits. Misfits, on the other hand, yes, they have very conditional engage, the hook, the scatter, the weak, maybe a key coming in from Shlatan, but it's just very easy to try and threaten people away with the hooks, with the skill shots thrown at them, and sort of misposition Vitality, where this is where Shlatan comes in, this is where HiRit comes in, and sort of breaks Vitality apart.
I mean, that's the assumption that Misfits set up the play, because I think they've been reactive the last few minutes, right? Vitality have punched first. Vitality have pushed Vision, look, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, sorry, until Dragon. Once again, Vitality pushing. They got that wave down first, teleport into the river. Here it's going to cancel his back, and trouble, we're setting up for another Dragon fight. This is Ocean Soul, remember, that can be
HiRit might be caught
game-defining. Misfits can secure it. The gold card was used, no flash for Perkz for a couple seconds. Destiny's a little while away.
This is so important. They've left Alphari alone in the mid. He's using his rage bar to get Gnar,
and Flash. Zlatan's got in from behind. The Gnar not going to find it just yet. Finally does lock down one, but it's on to Mersa. Vetheo running for his life, so is Neon. Here it's inside the mix of the world ender, but his world might just be ending. Gets one last hit to Perkz before he's taken down by Carzzy. And now Neon's running for his life. That flank from Alphari was game-changing.
That was so well played. Vitality left him all alone in the mid lane, and now okay, Carzzy says I'm here too. But Alphari fuels up his rage bar so he can use the Mega Gnar, and 3 members of Misfits are stuck in a brush. And Perkz found a wild Lee Sin where he shouldn't be.
Definitely. Didn't quite see if Shlatan was just trying to get warding or something was up. Not just yet. Got that Black Cleaver and Gore Drinker. Survives a very, very long time. Again, exemplifying how this team composition works. But if you are Vitality, if you have the warding, if you have the flank, if you have Alphari on 4-0-2 Gnar, and Selfmade on that 5-0-5 Zhao, it's really, really huge. And won all their fights. They got the second Dragon, and now they're setting up for Baron, it looks like.
And remember all this conditional engaging we've been talking about? It doesn't work because Vitality pulled the trigger first and they haven't missed once. Now they're starting the Baron as well. Remember, they have the Tahm Kench. It's very easy to move backwards, but they caught Mersa.
Alphari manages to find HiRit as well as Mersa. He's fallen. Neon chucks down the Flame Chompers to scatter the weak by some time. There's so much AoE inside this choke point, and Shlatan will be alive in a few seconds' time. I think the Baron may have been stopped, but it will cost Mersa his life. They almost get more, but look at that damage from Vetheo. The only problem is he doesn't get to those squishies often enough. And this time around, Vitality back out there for the kills. They didn't manage to secure the Baron.
Unfortunately, this is the sacrifice you have to make, but thank you so much, because you see Vitality are attacking from 3 places at the same time, and Misfits are stuck in the middle. You'll see that Neon has to actually flash out of that brush, which means no auto attacks were had that day from that Jinx. And this is what Vitality do so well. They pull the trigger, they split Misfits apart, and they can't sort of play this peeling composition that they have drafted with the Thresh, with the Syndra.
Vitality once again showing mastery of the map, control of their opponents, anticipating and predicting, and also forcing Misfits to come to them so that Vitality can create these scenarios where they can take the leads. And 10 kills up, 2 Dragons. Misfits, they fancy themselves a shot at this Baron. How long do they stick around? The Destiny will spot them out trouble.
I just really like what you said at the very beginning, right? You said Misfits are prone to mistakes, which is very telling of the early game. They're usually behind. A lot of the good teams, if you ask them, they're like, we don't necessarily have to do much. We just have to catch people making mistakes. And having Perkz on that Twisted Fate, every time Destiny is being pulled, it feels like Misfits are running around like headless chickens. And there's always a kill going to the side of Vitality.
Excuse me for diving a bit deep into the Vetheo storyline, but if you saw the Misfits hype video for their roster, Vetheo went mad and blamed the balance team for all of their losses and defeats, as Neon this time manages to find the lantern. And the reason I was going to the Vetheo story is Hullbreaker a direct buff to Perkz and Alphari in terms of playing the game. Looking at their win yesterday, looking at the game today,
Again,
Alphari takes the bottom lane, the rest of Vitality take the middle lane. Misfits cannot find that conditional engage. They're down 5 towers, they're down 6,000 gold, and they are losing control of this game.
The way Vitality is playing these fights is just beautiful. You always have multiple places that they're attacking from, and Misfits are playing so
well, but
scared.
Meganar, Alphari needs this, not timed up just yet, but the gold card does manage to lock down, take out, and shut up Neon. Selfmade is holding the rest of Misfits back, and HiRit's trying so hard to go crazy on Carzzy, but he simply cannot find the kill. And HiRit dashes over the wall, running to safety. This front line of Vitality is holding so well, allowing Carzzy and Perkz to zone away. I mean, 5-0-3, 6-0-0, Carzzy 3-0-3, untouched so far.
It's just so well played. Again, Perkz coming from one side, Alphari coming from the other. Misfits been again stuck between a rock and a hard place. They've been either pinched or split apart, which is not what their composition wants to do, especially when it consists of a bunch of squishies, and Vitality do it again. They pick the correct fights, they don't have to overextend, and they just win. You see, again here, look at Alphari. Alphari's coming this way, Perkz is coming this way, the rest of the team is coming this way, and Misfits are just stuck in the center, and they can't necessarily do anything other than run back to their tower, but somebody always will be getting caught, because the gold card is not easy to dodge.
No, it's not. Also, great Dragon's Rage kick there from Shlatan. I actually missed that live.
He's done it every single fight so far.
I actually just missed that live, so it interrupted a multi-man Gnar, so it could have been even more detrimental to Misfits. But as soon as we come out of the replay, Vitality, they picked up the Baron. They've extended that lead further. We're 20 seconds away from Ocean Soul. And once again, Vitality move first. Once again, Vitality initiate. And once again, Vitality find a kill before the Dragon even spawns.
15 seconds, 10 seconds for the Dragon. We said this. What does this Vitality comp do? You pull the trigger right before a big objective, you make a pick, you turn this into an advantageous 5 versus 4 for yourself, and then you dare Misfits to come and face check you if they so wish. I mean, Labrov dared a little bit too much and lost his flash.
Yeah, I mean, now Vitality shoving in this bottom wave. 20 seconds until Shlatan is alive. Not having those tools to engage is very difficult. Reminder that Misfits banned both Hecarim and Diana. 8 seconds to go before Shlatan is up. 5 members of Vitality pushing into the base. That's the inhibitor on the bottom lane secured. Is that the power buff that Misfits need to come back into the game? It's feeling a lot more tenuous.
Okay, this time
yesterday.
it is not 17 minutes into the game.
No, it is not.
It is 34, and this becomes much more dangerous because you can no longer walk out, and there's big objectives coming up.
There is, because this is the 3rd Dragon now for Vitality. The first 17 minutes was complete Dragon control by Misfits. Now the next 17 minutes, Vitality. So Ocean Soul available the next time it spawns. 16 stacks for Perkz after losing almost all his stacks instantaneously on Perkz.
Not almost, he lost all of his stacks.
There we go. He is able to rebuild them back up.
See how I haven't said anything about it yet?
Yeah.
Because last time I did.
There we go, there we go. And I think for Vitality, little bit of a reminder, you know, we are getting closer towards playoffs, and for Vitality, they're in a very good spot. They lock playoffs in 83% of remaining scenarios. So that doesn't assume, you know, preferences and favorites. 3 games playing Mad Lions, G2, and Astralis. And of course, with Mad Lions losing yesterday, Astralis being the bottom of the table, and this game looking very strong, Vitality are in a good spot. They will once again look for a pick. Flash from Neon. He's still got the cleanse, but the rest of Misfits move forward. The flame is just not enough. Death Sentence connects onto Selfmade, and it's just looking easy. This is 2 versus what was effectively 4. Selfmade goes over the wall. I think that was with the Shlatan kick. Gets taken out by Vetheo. Now the rest of Vitality arrive. Keep in mind, 2 members of Vitality held the line for that long. Gold card dashed away umbrally by HiRit. Inhibitor turret in the mid lane goes down. Alphari's about to Mega Gnar up. Infernal Chains pull him backwards. But it is now a 4 versus 4 inside the base of Misfits, and Vitality have them under complete control.
Okay, I'm gonna choose not to see Alphari's teleport right there, but there's 3 lanes pushing at the same time for Vitality. Mid, top, and bot are pushing at the same time, which means Misfits have to hide underneath the last 2 towers they have remaining, and I don't even think they can protect them.
They cannot. Vetheo stays alive very, very long. So many shields and heals and kicks and knockbacks. Alphari's Mega Gnar's timed. He's got mini, he's got no rage, he's got no anger. And there's no death sentence to pull anyone onto the Flame Chompers. 3rd inhibitor secured. 10,000 gold the lead. 13 kills the lead. And we're 3 minutes away from Soul.
It shows you how doomed this is when Mersa hits a beautiful hook onto Aphelios and he doesn't press Q twice. It seems kind of doomed right here because Vitality are so strong due to the fact that they've created this push. And again, Alphari, I have to say it, he's playing the Hullbreaker champions. He makes them work. Vitality know how to play the split push game, the 1-3-1, the 1 and 4.
Yes.
They're using Alphari, they're using the Hullbreaker to perfection. They're opening the map up. And then their opponents have to make a play into dangerous territory where they don't have vision.
My memory's a bit phasey, but when Origin was playing a lot and side lanes and pushing, you know, Alphari's pretty good at that role.
Right?
Perkz has a history...
He's pretty good at playing his lane.
Yes, Perkz has a history of playing those side lanes very well too. So I do think if you can curate a scenario where your team is making the proactive play first, if you're forcing your opponents to react, if you're pushing a side lane to, you know, draw attention and then you apply pressure elsewhere. Vitality yesterday and today have shown that they can do that excellently. I do think the hard engage today was lacking. Yesterday wasn't executed effectively. And now Vitality with supers, they're looking for the win.
Neo needs to go back to base right now and fill up his mana bar because this is probably going to be the last Hail Mary for them to try and save their last 2 towers.
He did it yesterday on Zeri under very different circumstances. And now Vitality need to try and let the minions do a lot of work. Remember, not longest range, not the most damage. Mersa will get caught out. Selfmade gets pulled backwards. Carzzy blows him up with the Moonlight Vigil. That's the go signal. Selfmade goes forward. Listen, guard as well as wind becomes lightning. The rest of Misfits try to turn onto him. Both towers are down. Alphari doesn't care about the champions. He's hammering away on the Nexus. He's down to 50% HP. Center of the weak does simply not enough. Alphari goes mega, chucks a boulder into the fountain. The rest of Vitality turn their attention back, and Vitality take down Misfits.
Ooh, and that was decisive again. Macro-oriented, clean gameplay coming from the side of Vitality. And at the start of the split, we questioned the gameplay. We questioned the team play, most importantly. And they come here, week 7, back-to-back, and they show us some pretty good macro moves around the map.
Yeah, they really do. I do think that early game Misfits showed one of the strongest they've had. And for Vitality, coming into the game, they locked the playoffs in 82% of remaining scenarios. This now goes up. 91% of remaining scenarios. When you consider they're playing Mad Lions and Astralis, 2 teams that have really struggled recently and are looking in a good spot. Your nominees for key up player of the game at LEC on Twitter: Alphari, Selfmade, and Labrov. And I just think for me, when I think about yesterday and today's games, the way Vitality play the team fights, both reactively and proactively, very, very impressive. They're in the right place at the right time most of the fights.
I just love how they feel like a team right now. You had Labrov shadowing Perkz every single time. Every time that our battle for Perkz was being pressed, Labrov was right behind to take the Voyage in, to add some more layers of CC, to catch someone off guard. I think they had a fantastic plan. He had 1, 2, 3 on the steps. 1, catch someone off guard before an objective. 2, pressure your vision in. 3, take the objective.
Yeah.
Job's finished.
I mean, look at the Vitality players on the stage. Obviously, Misfits once again very disheartened, struggling a lot, but electric. The energy here from the Mad Lions is gigantic. I actually managed to catch up with Perkz just before the game began, and I'm very excited to have him back in studio. Congratulations to Vitality, one step closer to playoffs. A huge win. They're now 3 games between themselves and 7th place. After the break, Nightmare will break down that early game. Misfits and Vitality players in the law will be joined by the victorious Labrov. That was clean.
Yeah.
That was clean.